As we come into dock, the boat shudders. Jet skis ride the leading edge of the ferry's wake, submerging in the rough edges of wave. I keep count to see they've all surfaced before going to the foot passenger exit. My husband Martin and I were that active. Sometimes I let myself remember. Now I can sit for hours. I can look at the clock and it'll be evening. He'd hate that. He did the right thing always. When we had a boundary dispute, he drove in stakes. The neighbour next door tore them out. Martin called the land registry and a letter came to say he was right. I never argue unless I am. The children and I tolerated outdoor pursuits. It kept us together as a family. It was good for us. But often one or other of them would put their arm around my waist and say, "Tell him to let us go in, please." Some years ago, I sat in front of a woman to seek help by sharing this kind of detail. And when I couldn't find the words, she asked, "Are you lost in it?" The story. At Fishguard, I find a cafe just off the road to St. David's. John chose it. It doesn't get ferry passengers. I walk to shake off the feelings of the boat. There's a moment when we pull back from Rosslare that I have to shake my head, asking the memories not to come. And there's a moment when I step off at Fishguard that I want to see Rosslare. And my feet begin their pilgrimage, taking my heart with them. I pass the grander houses built to take Victorians who took the sea air. Martin and I sold a similar one in Wexford, fully renovated, except for the garden, a hobby I wanted to take up. Seeing John has the same effect each time. I feel nauseous in the seconds before I open the cafe door. And as soon as I lay eyes on him, I settle in. Susan. He stands up and holds both of my hands with warmth and no pressure. The lady behind the counter has a different apron, but the skirt is the same one she had on last year. Her tablecloths are still blue and lemon check, and I breathe a sigh of relief that she got rid of the artificial flowers. Those things empty me out. I think I'm never going to eat the scones and the tea and the jam, and I eat the lot, and I haven't an appetite at any other time. I'm speaking because I'm hearing John's small replies. Whatever I'm saying, I'm noticing mostly. He's gone greyer. The shoulders are still the kind that jackets and sleeves ride up on, leaving his wrists bare. There's a light patch of skin on his left wrist. He's removed his watch. Last year he kept glancing. I kept thinking all of that day, this will be our last time. But as I was leaving, he took my hand and the palm skill felt like rock. His work must be physical. I need this as much as you. I'll be here next year. The way he gives me the right words. The way he holds quiet until I come through with mine. People don't give me long enough. My words aren't close. He has so few that mine don't seem that spare. How's Martin? He always inquires about him. He's good. Suddenly I hear myself again. Something about Martin's name always makes me try harder. He's tireless. I know this is the truth, even though I don't know any longer what he does. You're looking well, Susan. The only lie he ever tells. I see myself in windows, and my eyes are too big for my face. I don't keep mirrors, looking like the ghost I am. I reach into my rucksack. They're beautiful. He takes them from me and considers both. This year's colours are deep skies, close to night. I used yellow thread as a contrast. It looks like a shoal of swimming stars. I spend the hours I can't sleep, unravelling and weaving again. My mind is soft, but my fingers reach a better understanding of the threads and the ones who wore them and the places I hope they dwell in now. I've used woolens for the first time from 2 of their jumpers. The skies that were in their young minds. I try to give them those again. That all they imagined once has happened for them. The year I first wrote the tapestries, John put his face in his hands for a long time, and when he looked up his eyes were dry. And later I wrote him a letter and said I had no wish to give him any further distress. He didn't write back. Instead I got a letter from John's wife. I had no right to put him through this. Did I see what I was doing to her and the children? Did I see? And the next year, I changed the date I came to my children's shared birthday. I caught a taxi from the Port of Fishguard all the way. And John was waiting for me at the wellspring, where people tie votive rags to branches and drinks water so cold it would make you faint, water so new to the air it has the taste of soil in it, water the saints drank to replenish their tired souls and give the tired people who followed them new purpose in its blessing. How did you know I'd be here? I asked him. I've been here every day this month. I heard they were May children. I'm sorry I didn't write. I'm not good at putting pen to paper. I've come on this day ever since. He tells his wife he's working, and she's chosen to believe him. We keep this away from everyone we love. And there's no need to tell him there's no one for me now. There's no more tea in the pot. I hug the last drop. The cafe owner has a habit of ignoring me and talking to John. He pays. Ready? He puts my rucksack in the back seat and they're there, fresh and fragrant and dying. And they empty me out. And I want to ask him not to, but he's so good. And we drive to the city of St. David's, past the cathedral. Its bells at this time chime for prayer. For thousands of years, pilgrims have walked to Penitent's Bridge to wash their unclean bodies, then on, carrying sunset shells to indicate their hope that once their prayers reached this tiny city, the shadows would fall behind them. The shells were left in holy wells. Fragments still surface today of these and the cloths, a tapestry of broken people and their long dreams. The well of St. Non's, mother of David, is on the outskirts. When she was pregnant, she had a vision and fled to Brittany to raise him, dying there because she could not go home and watch her own son fall on hard Welsh times. We go first to her statue, and I hold her weeping hands, their plaster bubbling with the effect of winter storms. I take off the snails crawling up her robe and across her face, looking for shelter from the salt winds. The water by her feet asks to be drunk, and I do so after I've tied my offerings, and then I sit there for hours without moving. John's beside me. I like to think Sean and Leah collect them from the branches later. People have been tying them for thousands of years. There has to be a reason. I braid them carefully from all that's left, from the clothes that had no time to become memories. After St. Non, I can only think in being in the place where I lost them. Ready? John asks, because he knows I am. And as we drive, I know it's right to leave the tapestries at the well. I weave what they might be in their new life, and this road to Carfay Bay is where they lost all they might be in this one. A lane the cars still struggle to pass on after all that death. Hedges on high banks obscure the sea view and the stoned fields, and I see the tree again. And the tears grow cold on my cheeks, they're so slow to come. And I'm free to feel this pain, and I become the mother I was, rubbing her face with stress, chastising, threatening, no more holidays. The expectancies, the bickering, the constant noise from the children they were. I want to wince, I want to flinch and to pack too much into days that were too full as Martin, my once husband, pushed for strong memories to make our lives justifiable. There are days when I feel I was never a mother at all. I would not know what to do now. I would have to learn all over again. They weren't 11 yet. That was next month. The days were damp. Sleeping in a tent was excruciating. I screamed to the father we were not going on the water because we'd slept on it. I told them I would never go on a family holiday again, and they said I said it every year. I still picture Martin canoeing alone on the swollen sea, being right. We were all afraid, Sean and Leah and I, rowing furiously. I snapped. John was coming in the opposite direction. And he met me, not concentrating, head turned to the back seat, driving too fast, a thing I wasn't inclined to do. And there was nowhere for him to go, nowhere for us to go but to run into each other by a tree that just watched. They dug me out with bare hands. I felt they were John's, but he was already in the ambulance. He's placed my quartz boulder by a thin stream, one not governed by a presiding saint. Martin and I meant to stand it in the garden we never landscaped. When I returned home after their deaths, when the house was lost in its silence without them, I sat with my back against this rock and did my grieving. And after a year of that, it had become my heart. And I could only leave that in one place. And I could only ask one person. I wrote to John and asked him if he could help me if I had a shift. And his wife wrote back to say he had made all the arrangements. She was courteous then, because I had been honest and saved his job and taken his guilt. And now it stands with a hidden sacred meaning in a landscape littered with such things. But the standing stones there are granite, and this quartz looks fresh but not new, and speaks for the children they were and the place that they came from. For millennia, Irish quartz has been brought to holy voters by means of worship and of grieving, and I am part of what is known as St. David's Stream, and its pilgrims who put their pain and their hope into these waters. And as John places the flowers in cellophane among the wildflowers of Pembrokeshire, I think again they are as misplaced as he is in formal clothes. A pilgrim doesn't belong. They leave their prayers here and take their story away from them. And I am lost in mine. I never leave here. I do not exist without these events. There was only 1 year I stayed overnight. John wrote his only letter in 10 years, 2 lines in a painful script, to ask me to stay for a concert at the cathedral. Fantasia, on a theme of Thomas Tallis by Vaughan Williams. I know it will help you. I am not capable of certain acts. I don't enjoy the disappointments I create, but I found I could meet this one. He has put no other request, and I thought I could help him by pretending it moved me. Music doesn't anymore. Not until the Fantasia. It was caught in all the whispers and prayers of despair, heard and held by the medieval stone of the cathedral, and it caught mine. And I saw the children watching me in the time where they came to an end and I came to an end. And then I saw Martin's face in the music. And when I woke in the hospital with him by my bedside, having been to the morgue, the driver of the other car says it's his fault. And I told him what he most hated to hear, that we were not right. I told him what I had done, and he went home while my bones mended. And John became a visitor, and we shared a broken silence. I wanted to turn to John, and I wanted to say, why did you bring me to this music? And then, in one great note, the pain turned to dreaming. I saw the chaos of the world made serene by the distance the sky provides. I watched my children lifted out of my arms and into the skies of their minds. I thirst for a chance to catch sight of them as adult beings, progressing into futures and to tasks, and taking on burdens, and I walk with that as mine, and it's a loss that I could never put down but for that moment. And John, in the long silent moment after music, gave me the deep mourning of his eyes, for them and for me and for what I had lost and become. And he takes me to the well because he doesn't want me to get lost in this story. And he always tells me that he will visit Sean and Leah, but he hopes one day that I don't have to. That my life will become more than them, but he is not a mother. These are the remains. I ask myself, if John disappeared, would I take the same pilgrimage? And it means more with his presence. We shared the darkest moment, and we continue to share it. And for one more day, I am not silent. And on all others, I want to tell every mother I meet that I was once one too.